I started my practice in 1994 with the idea that fertility treatment should be personal, affordable, and successful. And since then, we've gained clients from around the world. People come from Europe, they come from the Caribbean, they come from South America, and we get a lot of people doing surrogacy both locally and internationally. All right. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the basic things that you need to know about the egg donation surrogacy process. All right. And I just want to kind of orient you guys to our website. We're totally state of the art. A lot of things, you can do several things on our website that will help you in your journey. We have online appointment scheduling. So if you go to schedule an appointment, you can actually really schedule an online appointment, not request an appointment, actually schedule an online appointment. Okay, you can fill out all the forms online, so when you come in the office, you're ready to be seen. We also have a very well-established internal egg donation program, and once you're registered as a patient, you can actually go right on our website and you can view our donor profiles. So basically, this makes things a lot easier. I want this to be patient-friendly. I want it to be easier for you. So you can schedule an appointment, you can look at the donor profiles, you can do all this before you even come in the office. All right? When it comes to selecting a donor, you want somebody young and healthy, someone under the age of 32, someone that doesn't smoke, drink, or use any drugs. Now, the drug issue has come up lately because as marijuana becomes legalized across the United States, we've seen a larger and larger percentage of our egg donors testing positive for marijuana. And depending on how you feel about this would be something that if you felt very strongly that your donor should not be using any sort of drugs, that donor would be immediately rejected for you. If you have the feeling that marijuana is permissible for a donor to use occasionally, then that donor might be okay for you, but it really depends on you. Usually these donors, once they're positive for anything, they're usually rejected from our program. All right. Surrogates, a surrogate has to be a woman that has to have had children before, and they're usually between the ages of usually mid-20s to early 40s. And the reason surrogates can be older is that women are born with all the eggs they'll ever have. And as they go throughout their life, they lose their eggs and they lose their fertility. So that's why it's important for an egg donor to be 32 or under. But for a surrogate, it's different. We're implanting eggs and embryos that are derived from an egg donor that's much younger. So now it goes by the age of the egg donor. So we can take embryos from your sperm and eggs from a 27-year-old egg donor, implant those into a 46-year-old surrogate, and still get 60–70% pregnancy rates. So for a surrogate, it's most important that she's had experience. Generally, you don't have to have a surrogate that's been through a surrogacy journey before. It could be her first journey. But that's really, again, up to you in terms of what you're looking for. As a doctor, what we do is we take care of the complete medical end of the process. So we would see your donor, we would screen your donor to make sure she meets all the criteria. We are actually an FDA-registered tissue bank. So we test our egg donors to the same level of safety that a hospital would test a heart, a lung, or a kidney before they transplant it. And like I said, we have a full FDA inspection, license, and tissue bank license to do that. All right? And that's something when you choose a clinic, you might want to make sure that they are FDA accredited. Once we screen the donors, we give them the fertility drugs. We monitor them very carefully to make sure that they are stimulated correctly and they don't overstimulate or understimulate, and that we get a good number of eggs from their cycle. Once we retrieve the eggs, we fertilize those eggs with your sperm. We do split culture. We will fertilize the eggs with sperm from two dads if both of you want to be the fathers. And we can also grow those groups of embryos separately, do PGT on those two separate groups of embryos, and then freeze those embryos separately. So now you have a pool of embryos from one father and a pool of embryos from the other father. And then when you go to do frozen embryo transfer, which is usually a frozen embryo transfer into the surrogate, you can choose which batch or both of groups of embryos to transfer into the surrogates. All right? Does anybody have any questions about that part? No? Good. You guys have all this stuff down. All right. So I think Mark also previously addressed the concept of PGT. And again, pretty much everybody that does donor egg and surrogacy does PGT, which is pre-implantation genetic testing. And again, we're screening the embryos for genetic defects like Down syndrome and other conditions. Again, it does not improve the live birth rate, but it does reduce the rate of miscarriage and also dramatically reduces the risk of a chromosome defect. And when you factor in the costs of, again, flying in your surrogate or having a surrogate going through, God forbid, a pregnancy termination, this is significant. So you want to make sure that the embryos you transfer are screened and are genetically normal before you do that. I'm sorry? What's the cost of PGT? Cost of PGT, about $5,000. That includes biopsying of the embryos, sending the samples for genetic testing, and for the PGT lab to run the genetic tests on the samples. Okay? All right. We are also able to structure package plans where we have, say, 2 cycles. We're including a cycle and several frozen embryo transfers for one fixed fee. We know that this can get expensive, so we try to control our costs as much as possible. One of the things we do to control costs is our in-house donor bank. We have, by going through our in-house donor program, you can save between $10,000 and $15,000 compared to the cost of going through an egg donor agency. Sometimes the egg donor agencies have specialized or certain donors that you're looking for, and sometimes an egg donor agency is the right and the best choice for you. But we also have an in-house donor program. Okay? So at this point, Angela, Angela's my marketing director. If you have any, if you want to schedule a consultation or actually help me facilitate an appointment, she can help you with that. I'm going to set up a quick little video. In the meantime, think about some questions that you might have. I'm going to unplug this for just a sec while I find this video.
The Palm Beach Fertility Center was one of...
I don't know if you can hear this. You guys can hear that?
The Palm Beach Fertility Center was one of the first clinics in Florida to offer family building options for gay couples. With the help of an egg donor to provide an egg, we can then fertilize those eggs with partner sperm, grow the embryos in the lab, and then place those embryos into the womb of a surrogate mother. This amazing technique has allowed gay couples the same family building options as everybody else. Couples often ask me, what am I looking for in an egg donor? An egg donor is someone between age 18 and 32 that is healthy and doesn't smoke or use any drugs. We screen them very carefully with blood tests, drug screens, and a psychological profile to make sure they're healthy and able to complete the egg donation process. We start them on a mild dose of fertility drugs and stimulate their ovaries to produce several eggs. The eggs are retrieved and combined with the intended parent's sperm. Resulting embryos are grown in culture and then transferred into the surrogate's uterus. When gay couples come into my office, they can feel the difference. We're open, friendly, warm, and inviting. We always invite the partners to come with them for any exams, procedures, and treatments. We're the first clinic in Florida to take this philosophy. We've carried this throughout our treatments and we practice it with everything that we do today.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So questions. So that was that video showed a little bit about our office. Showed some of my staff members who are very friendly and helpful, and they'll really hold your hand and guide you through the process. It showed a couple scenes. The one scene you saw was an egg retrieval procedure on a donor, and that's how we actually retrieve the eggs. And it showed a couple of scenes from inside the laboratory. The small boxes you saw on the counters were the incubators that we grow the embryos in. We use state-of-the-art microprocessor-controlled incubators, also known as benchtop incubators. And because of their small size, they equilibrate very quickly, so that changes in pH and temperature are held constant, and it ensures the best quality or the best embryo growth. So just some of the things that we do to help you through the process. Okay? All right, at this point, what questions do you have? Success rates, frozen embryo transfers into a gestational surrogate, 75%. 75%.
How about for twins?
How about for twins? If we transfer 2 embryos, 50% of those pregnancies will be twin pregnancies. So not every embryo implants, but if we transfer 2, we get twins about 50% of the time, at least. Good question. There's a whole ethical debate right now about single embryo transfer versus double embryo transfer, or transferring 2 embryos. Transferring 2 embryos, there is an increased risk of preterm labor, preterm delivery. However, if you choose your surrogate as someone that has gone through a pregnancy and hasn't had any complications, and she's not a short little tiny girl, probably she'll go full term and deliver twins. And if she's on board with having twins and she has some support for if she goes into preterm labor, she has someone to take care of her children, it should be something that you should be able to do. The other thing you have to think about, of course, when you actually have those babies, now you have 2 children to watch out for instead of just 1. And of course, having twins myself, I know that very often they plan it, one goes one way, one goes the other. So you have to make sure you've got your zone defense online there.
How old are your twins?
How old are my twins? They're 10 years old. They're 10 years old, boy and a girl. They're great. I actually do have, that's true, I do have 5 children. True statement. Questions, more questions.
How did you get started, and why did you decide to be so open within the gay community?
How did I get started, and why did I decide to be so open with the gay community? I grew up in Los Angeles, and I had a bunch of friends that were gay in college. And I thought they were great guys. And then when I came to Florida and everything was so conservative here, and I saw what the other practices were doing. They were requiring psychological screening for lesbian couples going through donor IUI. And I looked at that and I said, well, that's discriminatory. Gay people are just like everybody else. They just can't get pregnant on their own, so why would you treat them any differently? It was just something internal that I believed in. So. And I still remember when I started treating gay and single men 23 years ago, I got a call from the medical director at a large practice down the street, because I was the only one really doing it at that time. And he called me and says, hey, Mark, do you think you should really be doing this? And I said, yes, I do. I still remember that phone call. And I was the first doctor in the country to treat HIV discordant couples. The first doctor in Florida to have a formal program for single men for donor egg and surrogacy. So I believe in it. It's my mission to help you. It's the right thing to do. Any other questions? 2 minutes? 2 minutes? I think what people really want to know is, are we going to take care of you, and are we going to get you a baby? The answer is yes and yes. It's a solo practice. It's a boutique practice. You're not a number. It's not 10 doctors. It's me. Okay, I'm going to make sure you get good care. My staff's going to take care of you. There's no voicemail. There's no phone tree in my practice. Someone answers the phone. And if you have a question, a concern, we'll get back to you the same day, 100% of the time. We'll give you a great chance to get pregnant, and we'll do everything we can to help you. We care. It's the difference. Okay? Great questions. Anything else? All right. Thank you very much for your time.